This is their system. Chew them up and spit them out. So no, they're not lazy. You're training them wrong.
WWE firings over the past, as we record this, maybe 4 days ago, something like that. I'm going to read off the entire list of people. A lot of them are NXT. Quite a lot of them are women as well, but there's 17 names, 18 names maybe, because I think Shotzi Blackheart was named like a day after the rest of them, but I'm going to give you the names. Braun Strowman is the headliner, I guess, if you want an ignominious sort of accolade. Katana Chance, Caden Carter, Dakota Kai, which was a surprise because she's on TV all the time. Shayna Baszler, Cora Jade, Gigi Dolan, Jakara Jackson, Eddie Thorpe, Riley Osborne, Mark Coffey, Joe Coffey, Wolfgang, Ora Mensa, which some people are sad about as well, Javier Burnell, Danny Palmer, and once again Shotzi as well. So we'll talk about a few of the names. I know you're not going to be too familiar with all of them because a lot of them are NXT. Dave Meltzer claimed that many of these cuts were perceived as not working hard in training, and if you don't work hard in training, there's so many people who do, and at this point, if the feeling is you're not working hard in training, I saw the term lazy. The ones who are lazy are going to be gone, and the ones who didn't stand out are going to be gone. Now, that's a quote we can dig into straight away, because there's so many wrestlers that for whatever reason are perceived as lazy when they're not. I mean, like maybe Carlito, he always had a reputation for being lazy, whereas what I sort of got out at the time in the 2000s, what I got out of it was that he had the passion beat out of him, quite frankly, and then he was sort of just coasting for a while, and you know, in that sense, you know how that goes, as far as being with WWE and just having the passion beat out of you after a while.
Well, let me ask you this then. I mean, the Meltzer quote is just incredible for a few different things. Didn't I mention on last week's episode about the convention fans and scams that the purpose of the business or the goal is to do as little as possible and make the most amount of money? You can consider Kevin Nash, Hulk Hogan, even Goldberg and other people to be lazy because you didn't put a 20, 30-minute match in, brother, because you didn't do, you see what I mean? You can say lazy. And I've heard rumors, and I know for a fact, when Bill DeMott was training people in McDonough, Georgia, in Deep South Wrestling, like Great Khali, making Great Khali do Hindu squats, making Great Khali like do laps and killing the guy's knees, making people train in a way like CrossFit, which the strength and conditioning there, I watched it the week I was training people in coaching. They're training them all impactful lifts and things that are just downright like you're supposed to protect your body.
Even worse, right? There was a spate at one point of ACL tears in training in NXT. Yeah. And also, I believe at one time, if they probably still do, they have records for like deadlifts and stuff like that.
Yeah, they compete.
Yeah.
You put as much impact on your joints in order to go out there and wrestle and put impact on your joints. Yeah. That doesn't make sense. In other words, you're doing all these things to break the kids down before they even get in the ring. So some of these could be torn ACLs, I don't know, or just breaking their body down, training before they even get to the dance. So I don't get it. This is a systemic problem that I speak about all the time, that this developmental territory needs to be revamped and needs to not be treated. Is it a brand? Is it developmental? Hunter says both in separate interviews. So what's it going to be? Plus the fact, you know what I read between the lines. Lazy means you're not taking enough bumps. You're not beating your body up enough. You don't really want it. You know what happens? Most of these people are washed out by the time they get to the main roster in their 20s. And then guess what happens? The people that got released, like the Russo and Ben call them the whoop whoops, Carter and Chance. What did they do? The two girls now almost have the identical hairstyles and colors. They just replaced them with the new thing that looks almost exactly like the old thing. This is their system. Chew them up and spit them out. So no, they're not lazy. You're training them wrong. It's your fault. Why do they blame these people that don't have a clue? Like you said, a lot of them are NXT. A lot of them are probably brought over from other areas of athletics. I know the Coffeys were NXT UK guys. I think the mustache or is that Tyler Bate? One of the coffees was Mustache Mountain.
Yeah.
You have people that have had their chance. I give them that. But then you got people, you're talking about lazy in training. The point of the business is not to bump yourself out while training. Maybe when you're working. No, the company's at fault. And I hate the fact this is just as bad as creative has nothing for you, then fire the damn writer. Mm-hmm. Don't fire the wrestler. It's crazy, man. I'm always talent friendly. With quotes like this, Meltzer, you lose the point. You haven't got a clue. And as a matter of fact, the people training and running the facility don't have a clue. If you have people doing CrossFit record lifts, trying to compete with each other, get the hell out of here with that. It's a work.
Cora Jade specifically had an ACL tear, and beforehand, she was one of the up-and-comers, stunning young lady, still like 24, I think, had all the promise in the world. She ended up getting an ACL tear, comes back after like a year. I don't know if it's her thing or, excuse me, or the company suggesting a different look. And then basically, look, I know what it is like to have an ACL tear. It's debilitating to the point that it depends on how you recover. You may never recover. Some other people can recover, fully, that kind of thing. But her work regressed because of it. And that may well just be simply just due to the injury. I mean, Charlotte Flair will know the same thing as well. I mean, she didn't have many good matches after she returned because all of a sudden she's turning back with an ACL injury. The very, very serious injuries. I'm going to give you a few of the names that we have to talk about. Braun Strowman now, at high price salary for what was said to be, quite frankly, not much in return. He was already fired once as part of the COVID cuts. He's a former WWE champion. And this is just my way of looking at it. And I know Dutch Mantel said the same thing to me, even though we couldn't record this week, or at least when we do. But he was always like, Braun, I don't get it. Don't get it with Braun. He's overpriced and overpushed for what he is. Do you feel that way with Braun?
I'm not one to ever speak that somebody's overpaid or somebody's overpushed because it's a subjective business. Someone had an opinion. My guess is Vince McMahon had an opinion. And you have to look at Braun. At one point, he was right up there with one of the most over acts in the company. They just had to protect him. Is he limited? Yeah. But I'm going to bring him another name up that's limited and drew big money. Goldberg. They presented him in the correct way. When they didn't present Goldberg in the correct way, he becomes a meme of sorts. Braun Strowman also, he could have been very much not in the size category or anything like that, but they were even trying to push him as a special attraction, kind of like an Andre the Giant type act, where he stood out, won Battle Royals. I think he won one of the Andre the Giant ones. All that stuff is great. I just feel like, and this is a guy that was literally Wyatt family member anonymous number 5 or whatever he was, and made a name for himself. I personally like the guy from what I see outside the ring too. He seems like a nice dude, seems pretty cool. But at the same time, I'm not here to say this guy. Now, Dutch as a booker can say, yeah, if I were booking, that'd be too much money. I could pay 10 people or whatever, overpushed. What do I do? Do I have to sacrifice talent, good talent, for one guy? See, that's another thing. How many talents have to work around and put him over? Dutch has great points. So I'm not arguing the point. But if you're going to get paid that and the market, meaning the company budget, is going to bear it, why not? Why should Braun refuse the belt? I mean, now he can work conventions, run. If Braun didn't do this, the only reason I'll heat with you, Braun, the second you won that, you already know what I'm going to say. The second you win that belt, go to the backdrop, get as many photos as possible, get the digital copies, and sell them everywhere.
Well, maybe I can say this as a fan then, because obviously Dutch is coming from a different way. I'm coming from a different way, just purely watching the guys on TV. I'm with Dutch. I never got Braun as a special attraction, especially because when he was brought back, or towards the end of his first run at least, there were so many more giants on the roster. Like in that early 2020s, you had your Omos, and other guys who were like 7 foot plus roaming around. They pretty much got rid of them all now. But they tried to make Braun as unspecial as possible. He's the monster of all monsters, yet he's like the 6th biggest person on the roster kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it never worked for me in that one. But let me give you this. With Braun, shortly after he was rehired in 2022, he suffered a spinal injury that left him with 15% paralysis in his leg, accounting for why he slowed down considerably when he returned. He also suffered from spinal stenosis that affects his arms as well. So he wasn't when he returned, he simply wasn't the Braun of the first run, which isn't his fault. I mean, it's brave enough for him to consider being physical, and he was on the roster full-time, not really being used. The last thing he was basically used for was bolstering up Jacob Fatu, and Jacob Fatu was getting wins over him.
Well, I want to say this, because that last part, that's all that matters. No matter how much money, how many championships, how long you've been in wrestling, your long-term health at that size, at that height, at that weight with spinal stenosis, which Sheamus, he just came back. He looks great, but he battles it too. I know what it's like to have that temporary. Mine was temporary, and then sometimes with my neck, my arms, and everything. It's scary when you start to do that. And this is another guy that power lifted, so you can imagine his strength went down. Everything. He's in uncharted territory right now. So, but you know what I think? Just my theory, and maybe you can agree or disagree. I think the moment, because I think he was Vince's project, and Vince loved Braun and the size and the airport walk. You probably know what I'm going to say. I think the beginning of the end of Braun Strowman's run as a guy that was pushed was that Brock Lesnar thing, the exchange where Brock checked him.
That was in the first run, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I think after that he kind of got watered down a little bit after that.
Yeah. I'm just looking actually when
I'm not saying it was instantaneous, but Vince is real big on that, you know, as far as being tough and stuff. And when Brock checked him, and I mean, and maybe it was Brock be like, this guy's not ready. You know what I mean? Could have been something as easy as that.
Yeah. He was a Triple H rehire as well. You know, when Vince was ousted the first time, anyway, there was a load of rehires that Triple H enacted. Like, I've already forgotten his name. He was in the White Six, the guy with the mustache. No, the guy with the mustache in the White Six.
Sam Shaw, Dexter Lumis.
Dexter Lumis, yeah. Where's that guy? Where's all of Wyatt Six at the moment? Anyway.
That's why I'm surprised they're not on the list. I'm not hoping for it, but you would have thought they would have definitely been. Unless Bo, who, like I said about his father and his brother, very creative guy. Is he working behind the scenes somehow?
No, he's injured, so they've taken them all off, including Alexa, I believe, as well.
Oh, wow.
So, next on the list, we're only going to mention a few of these. Gigi Dolan comments about some firings due to laziness. She reacted to that report very specifically. When I wasn't travelling to work for either of the two companies I was working for, I trained very hard 3-4 days a week, bumping my ass off and doing cardio drills with one of the best and toughest coaches I've worked with, and worked out every single day, with live events every other weekend. So yeah, I don't want to hear this. The way my body feels says otherwise. So that's just another comment on the laziness. Cora Jade then responds, this is all on social media. This, plus can't forget having to go to my own gym outside of work after, quote-unquote, strength and conditioning that wasn't doing anything for me other than get me body shamed by my bosses, co-workers, and fans. Crazy. The real situation about Cora Jade was that after she returned from... we've already talked about all that. She tore her ACL and PCL as well. So, yeah, there's still apparently... I always hate the term body shaming because, you know, you're out in basically your underwear on TV.
It's an aesthetic business. You have to be criticized.
But the thing is, she looks great. So I don't know who's shaming her for a body. Apparently, it looks like she might be doing an OnlyFans quite soon as well. So,
well, the thing is that I'm gonna probably repeat this. I don't know who most of these people are, and that's the shame of it all. You've literally used these people up. There's injuries, Cora Jade, torn ACL, and all this stuff. And this is why I hate about their system. I really do. I use hate. I shouldn't use it. I should say strongly disagree and dislike it. But downright, I do hate it for the talent because of this. Everybody gets chewed up and spit out. But to get chewed up and spit out from the biggest promotion in the world, from the biggest company in the world, from the biggest opportunity where you feel like you're going to make multi-generational money, and you're chewed up and spit out before you're 25. And you have no idea about hustling on the indies. You have no idea about merch at intermission, or you don't even know about taking pictures with the fans like that and charge. You can't run your own business. You're helpless. And some tells me with the modern social media, we see all these people on TikTok admitting I got a fraudulent PPP loan and I defrauded the government and my company just fired me. You're not going to get hired again, and you're going to get in trouble in a way. Not the first part. The second part of publicly talking about your firing, your release, or anything like that, you might as well not even want to be in the business anymore. Because if Tony Khan's smart, and obviously TNA works with WWE or MLW or any of these companies, they're going to say, well, if you're going to talk about that when it doesn't go your way, what are you going to say about me? Mm-hmm. So you might not be blacklisted on the surface like we are, mm-hmm. but you might just get no calls returned if, I say it like this with a big if you really even know how to do anything like that and function and network and do all those things because you've been chewed up and spit out before 25 years old. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you've only ever gone through the WWE system most likely as well. So
they they told me they had protein shake breaks scheduled when they were on the tour bus going to these house shows. They literally have them structured like an NFL program. I give them all the credit, but then it's the reverse actually. You should be like left to your own devices in a way in the training and figured it should be the hardest time in your career, right? Then when you get to the big show, to the dance, that's where we have protein shake breaks and we're writing workouts and recovery. Am I wrong? Because it's a lot more, you need the guidance and you need the assistance to keep up that level of performance.
I'm going to give you two more names. Shayna Baszler. This is an interesting one. She's 44. She was used really well in NXT. She was used well in the main roster for a while. She was a hire pretty much because of Ronda Rousey. She was friends with Ronda Rousey. She had a shooter character because she was a former MMA fighter, of course. And then, it's one of those things where it's almost like, what do you always say? The shiny toy. The shiny toys, well, in fact, Ronda Rousey isn't there anymore to, I guess, vouch for her or, stick up for her in certain cases.
That could have always also hurt her in the end.
Yeah. And now she was just another body on the roster for quite a while. There was also a confrontation, I think, late last year between her and Jade Cargill, where Jade Cargill told Shayna Baszler that she didn't know how to work, of all people. But that being said, I thought it was interesting that Shayna Baszler would have been fired because... yeah, like many, I think she had more to offer.
Well, also, I think she could really benefit the company by being a coach, and maybe she will come back as a coach to mix a little bit of legitimate MMA and fighting stuff into the pro wrestling style. Yeah, she's definitely this is what drives me nuts too whenever they're looking at the talents. Like you looked at Braun, and I understand the perspective and looking at the money versus the return on the performance. And Braun has a lot more stuff going on. But some of these people, it's like, you didn't even give them a chance. You also just threw them in places where they weren't going to succeed. Or Shayna Baszler, yeah, you're hot. Now you're not. Now you're hot. Now you're not. The stop-start mentality of pushes, that's not Shayna Baszler's fault. You need to fire whoever isn't putting out a good, consistent product with good, consistent players.
Last one, maybe the second biggest surprise, Dakota Kai, because she was featured regularly on TV. I mean, we actually did What Went Wrong recently between her and, I've forgotten her damn name. She's with Chad Gable's group.
Ivy Nile.
Ivy Nile, thank you. I'm terrible with names. Anyway,
I can be an agent. I remember the names.
Yeah, you're already better than Ricky Steamboat.
All right, you said it. I didn't. I was waiting for that. Softball.
Softball. It's not even a three-pointer. Brian Alvarez of the Wrestling Observer Live, in an update, mentioned that WWE's decision to end Damage Control as a group may have played into the decision to release Dakota Kai. He said, I don't know what the story is there, other than I don't know if this is official, but I was kind of told unofficially that Damage Control is done. The group is done, and that probably means that maybe Asuka and Kairi Sane might come back as a tag team, and Io's obviously a big single star, and maybe they just figured that Dakota, she's not going to be at the level of an Io and doesn't have a partner. We don't have a 6-woman division, or, a trios division, I guess, so she got cut, but that one is surprising. But yeah, why?
Well, she was Road Dogg's favorite. He was always doing a Sports Kita show back before, even I think when he did go back to WWE, and would really, really advocate for her on that Sports Kita show with Vince Russo for a while. I have a guess as to why, and it wasn't a instantaneous thing. A lot of times in wrestling, when you do something or something that you do or say doesn't really fall too well on the people in charge, they don't fire you or release you that day or that week or that month. Maybe not even that year, but they make you kind of sweat it out. She was getting on Twitch, I think, or streaming and complaining about not getting an opportunity and kind of putting stuff out there.
Hey, do you know who else has just done that recently? It was Bailey on Chris Van
told
Vliet.
Me about, yeah. Actually, I know Vince told me about that she was very open about the state of affairs with her career there, correct?
Yeah, basically saying, I'm doing everything right. Everybody's saying I'm doing everything right. Yeah, I'm not getting the interviews. I'm not... Basically becoming one of the faces of the division in that sense. But
yeah, I mean, what are you going to do, though? See, this is the thing. The chance you take I told the story when Vince was... He rolled in a TV, put the tape in, and matched between Bob Holly and myself on Velocity. This is exactly what we need on the shows, storytelling, all this. And then he's got me getting me squashed by Ken Kennedy in 3 minutes. I go in and ask a question. I want to contribute to the company. I'm doing everything right. Yeah, you're doing everything right. Sit home for 4 months. I should have got fired if you think about it with the way, but it's weird. The company is the one doing it. The company is the one that made Bailey one of the top females for years in NXT and WWE. And now all of a sudden she's an old toy. That's the only explanation. And she's saying, I'm actually better now because I have more experience. When I was just a kid and I was green, you were throwing belts at me every other month. What changed except I got better, but maybe you got tired of me?
Natalia. It's just the same thing.
Natalia's the poster child for that because you're literally a Hart. You're a Neidhart. You're a Smith. You're a dungeon graduate. Do good, but don't do too good. And if they don't do good enough by you, if you're going to open up your mouth, you better shoot your shot and you better be prepared for it not to go your way. Dakota Kai would have been figured in if they figured her in. So just because Damage Control is done, did Dakota Kai go, time to end the group, everybody. My hands are washed. They give this really goofy sense that the wrestlers control things, therefore the wrestlers didn't get over, therefore the wrestlers need to get released. You do not even, dude, it's like kind of like when they said, well, you haven't won a career, you haven't won a match in months. Well, dude, okay, what do you want me to do? Go out there and shoot? I mean, more than likely, I'm still going to lose the match and it's going to be a lot shorter, but you see what I'm saying? There's this strange cognitive dissonance where what did the wrestler do wrong? How come the wrestler didn't pitch too many ideas? Oh, here's the thing. You should have pitched more ideas. Well, you pitched too many ideas. Hey, those ideas were all bad. Oh, you're doing a really good move, but it's too good for you. Mm-hmm. This business never changes. It's the same carny wrestling it always was. And hey, it's the best carny business that ever was, ever is, or ever will be. There you go, Brett.
Aha. Oh, no, that was Brett. I was thinking Jeff Jarrett.
Aha.
I was thinking Jeff Jarrett.
Dude, when Brett climbed into the ring, I tried it a couple of times. I'm like, how do you not knock the wind out of yourself? He literally pushes down on the ropes and hits his balls on the ropes and goes in. I tried it once and I was like, this is impossible.
Maybe just wakes him up. I don't know. Okay, very quickly, and then we'll shut down the show. Where do you think Dakota Kai will end up, or where do you think Braun Strowman will end up? Because I'm sort of just feeling that Braun, because he tried to do that great, it was a CYM, whatever that was terrible.
Control your narrative.
Yeah, control your narrative, and then he never really did anything else. Apart from, he was on the bill for that phony baloney attempt for, was it the War, not what, who's with Karrion Kross, not the War Raiders, with that group, the Final Testament.
Oh, the Final Testament. It was AOP.
Yeah, AOP. They decided that they were going to run a 14,000 seat arena in Nottingham in the UK with the most ridiculous card you ever seen. And I think the last one was Alistair, the kickboxer. My brain's gone. Alistair
Not
Overeem
Alistair
in the
Black,
main.
is it?
No, Alistair Overeem in the main event. I think versus maybe Braun Strowman. Anyway, they sold like 300 tickets.
I know
and then they cancelled it.
I know I have stenosis now.
Yeah, I know. Well, it never happened. Anyway, because no one bought tickets. It was ridiculous. Anyway, that's. Are we going to assume that Braun's just going to retire unless WWE calls him back?
I really hope he saved and invested his money. He did make a pretty good amount of money.
He would have been $2 million a year.
Remember, Braun is already into powerlifting. He did an arm wrestling thing with the one guy.
Yeah.
Braun has, and he could probably be a spokesperson for different products. Don't review fitness equipment, you son of a bitch. You stay away from. I'm calling him right after this. I'm saying I wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors outside of the home fitness equipment industry. That's what I'm going to leave at the end with him. But I think with this, Braun and everybody else, Braun has an advantage because, like I said, and it's not a slight on these people that I never heard of, but Braun does have a bigger WWE name. Braun has the picture with the belt. Braun has a convention signing, an independent career that can bridge the gap to wherever else he's going to go. I'm not so worried about Braun. I'm worried about the other ones a lot because they are washed out at a very young age. Shayna Baszler's in that weird spot of, I hope she gets a job, like maybe opens up an MMA gym or trains people, or maybe she commentates women's MMA. I love to see everybody land on their feet. And actually, this is the I'll show you, you'll see part of it. Do something, create a legacy that makes your wrestling legacy second or makes people forget about it. Jesse Ventura, DDP, hopefully myself, Maven, a lot of others. He has this thing, but he used to wrestle too. That's my hope, my prayer, and my wish for every one of you. And here's something else. You don't have to even be public. I won't be public. Each and every one of these talents can reach out to me. If this is your first time getting released and you need perspective, you need a mentor, you need somebody to coach you. I'm not saying I have all the answers, but I do have experience and perspective on the other side of this thing multiple times, as a matter of fact. Please, if not me, reach out to somebody you trust that will give you the real advice that you need moving forward. Not that, just be patient, they'll call you back, do this. No, don't wait for this company or any other company or anybody in the world to make your mark in the next chapters of your life. Do not wait for the call. Do not, because guess what? It's only going to hurt you and nobody else cares.